Greetings, Internet Distance. This is Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. I recently received the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Player's Handbook for 2024 version. And I mentioned something about Level Up Advanced 5th edition in that video, and I realized I didn't do a video on that yet. It's still in my pile. I actually have several books for it, so I might as well go ahead and cover this. This book is a chunky monster. I forget how much it's sold on Amazon for, or in a local store. Might be around $50. I do say that it is probably about, say it comes with character sheets, so that's one thing you have that you don't get in the new Player's Handbook from Wizards of the Coast. It has 651 pages, which is roughly around this number of pages that Pathfinder 2nd Edition's core rule book, the original version of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, was released with. Now, as you can see, this is a fairly thick book. It comes with a whole lot of stuff. It also comes with more classes than the new version of D&D 5e 2024 and 2014 versions of Dungeons and Dragons. So either Player's Handbook, there's fewer classes in each one of those in this one. It comes with two standard ribbons, as you can see here. You have a simple cover art, white pages on the inside. You have the credits right on the title page of the book, as well as the designers and additional leads, research people. You got 2 pages of table of contents. This is actually broken down very finely across the whole book. So if there's something in this book that you need to find, you can easily find it just from the table of contents, or at least figure out where it is roughly in the book. It is not just simply broken down by section or chapters, so you don't just have chapters in the major sections in the chapter, but you also have the subsections in the chapters themselves for the book. So like, for example, if you're going into the heritages section, instead of using the term races, they use heritages. They break it down not just to Dragonborn, but they also break it down to the subsections in the Dragonborn entry and what page you can find those on. So when you're trying to figure out something, you can quickly find it from the book, from the table of contents, and if you need something finer than that, you have a high quality index in the back that easily gets you to where you want, if you want something even more specific than that. You have the introduction right here in this first column right here. You have character creation rules. You have your heritages or your origins, which is basically races. You got step 1, your heritages. Step 2, culture. And step 3, and then you have chapter 3, which is adventuring classes. So in the case of chapter 2, you have heritages and culture, which are 2 different subsections or steps. And then you have your adventuring classes, and then you go into the next page, and there's more. And as I said before, I could have put this in 4K mode, but that turns in 30-minute video upload or an hour upload into 8 hours uploading. But as you can see, they break it all down very finely in there, so you can easily find whatever you're looking for. Chapter 3 is all your races, species, or heritages. Chapter 4 is equipment. Chapter 5 is multi-classing and features. It's organized just like the original 2014 Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Player's Handbook. So if you're familiar with that one, you pretty much understand and the order in which this book operates on. This is just a thicker, deeper, more granular version of 2014 Dungeons and Dragons with more features added in. Then chapter 5, as I said, chapter 5 is multi-classing and feats. Chapter 6 is ability scores. Chapter 7 is adventuring, explaining how you'll play the game. Chapter 8 is combat and turn-based actions. Chapter 9 is combat maneuvers. Chapter 10 is spellcasting, and then you have the appendixes, which is conditions, gods, faiths, and beliefs, beasts and creatures, and compatibility, as well as for Appendix D, and then you have the index in the back, which I've already showed you before. As per standard, there's a nice piece of artwork right up here on the top. You have a nice little introduction that walks through the whole book. There is some jokes in the D&D community throughout it. Shiny math rocks. We all love our shiny math rocks. Published worlds and so forth. They cover all the essential important details you need to know in this book. They cover session 0 and checks and everything else. All the basics you need to know to play the games. Then you go into character creation. They cover over the basic flow of how you build your character. They start with origins, heritages, and culture. And they move through that. And then you've got your background explanation, destiny, classes, level, and so forth. Now there's a few interesting things, like they now have a destiny feature that's built into the system, where at certain levels you gain extra features based on your destiny, which is its own system in itself. You have information on your hit points and hit dice and proficiency bonus and determining your ability scores. So, and before you even get into, they gave you the basic explanation of what the structure of the character creation process is, and then they start you into building the character in itself. They give you an explanation on all the attributes like strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, as well as a little chart on the modifiers of said thing. I'll just turn this around. So I hope it doesn't glare too badly. But anyways, you have this nice little chart for ability score modifiers and so forth. And then we go to various ways of determining your ability scores. So in this book, they do it the proper way. They give you a nice overview flow of the process of creating your character, and then they start you into actually rolling your stats, what numbers you are using, and the mechanics. That way you know what you are working with when you're trying to build a character. And they do a very nice job of explaining that whole process of rolling your stats, thinking about how you place your stats in your character sheet. So if you want a little more of this or a little more of that, you got it, okay? Then there's this section on bringing your character to life. Why fight alone? Beyond the first steps, the world and you. They got a chart on the levels system explaining how much experience you need for each level, the level, and your proficiency bonus. Very much the same kind of pattern as the 2014 Player's Handbook. Then we go right into Origins section, which is the heritages and your backgrounds. You got a little explanation of culture down here, plus mixed heritage as well. They also note that you have a heritage gift and a paragon gift. When you hit certain levels, you acquire one of those. So we have culture, cultural traits, languages, and background. And then you got a little blurb about languages here. You have the list of heritages right here. Where did you grow up? Some suggestions for this stuff. Backgrounds and your personal story. And then we go right into the various ancestors. You got a little information right here on connections, equipment, mementos, destiny, source of inspiration feature, and so forth. We have the Dragonborn. And this is a very nice standard that they have here. They have nice filler flavor text right here on the top. They give you all the bullet point details like age, size, speed, your basic features, your draconic ancestry little section right here. Got a nice piece of artwork right there. And then we go into the next page, which talks about all your features, like your draconic armor, your draconic fins, draconic wings, and so forth. And then you have a draconic paragon, which is a special feature at a certain point in which your character acquires that character ability set. And then down here we have suggested cultures going into the next page. Suggested cultures for the Dragonborn. We have dwarves, same basic pattern as before. You got a single piece of artwork. The artwork is okay, but minimal. So you will typically get 1 or 2 pieces of artwork for each heritage or race. It is usually a fairly decent piece of artwork. You have the same pattern throughout the entire book. There is nothing really new as far as the ancestries are concerned compared to the 2014 Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. You have the modern style orc and a more classic version, 90s version of orc on this section for the orcs. And then you have plain touched right here, which are basically tieflings. And so forth. You got a little section talking about various cultures in here, as well as deep dwarf, deep gnome, dragonbound, and so forth, dragon cult, eladrin, and so forth. And then there's also some sub-ancestries or sub-races or breeds in this section, just for your character's character creation, so you understand what you're going for. The various cultures of halflings and gnomes and various other things. And then we go into the backgrounds. The backgrounds are actually the version. The closest thing these backgrounds are to are the new 2024 Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So it's reading them, it's kind of obvious that Wizards of the Coast was inspired, maybe potentially by the fact that you put bonuses into the backgrounds in here. But they still have, instead of feats, they have features. And adventures and advancement for that background. So you have special features in the background itself that are unique as opposed to a generic feat. And then you have a nice little random roll charts for your background. You have, let's see here, well, let's read them over very quickly. You have Acolyte, Artisan, Charlatan, Criminal, Cultist, Entertainer, Exile, Farmer, ooh, I like Farmer, Folk Hero, Gambler, Guard, Guild Member, Hermit, Marauder, Noble, Outlander, Sage, Sailor, Soldier, Trader, Urchin, and that's it. So it ends right here with Urchin as the last one. I think there's slightly more backgrounds in this book than there are in the 2014 Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. And it's more flushed out and bigger and more features than the 2024 version of Dungeons & Dragons. So it's a built up version of the 2014 as opposed to the slimmed down version of the 2024. Then we have step 4, Destiny. This is actually a whole bunch of extra special stuff that your character will gain at various points. This ties into the thematic theme that's tied to your character's development as an individual. You have various options here, like coming of age. This is your destiny as a character is coming of age. There's a one for devotion, chaos, dominion, excellence, and so forth. Knowledge, metamorphosis, revenge, underdog, wealth. And then we are into the classes. Now, there's a few interesting things. First and foremost, There's Adept, Bard, Berserker, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Herald, Martial, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Adept is basically the monk of the system. Bard is Bard. Berserker is Barbarian. Cleric is Cleric. Druid is Druid for the system. Fighter is a standard fighter. A Herald is basically Paladin in this system. A Martial is actually a Martial that's very similar to a Paladin, but is not. It's more of a commander type character that is more in line with Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition Martial. You have a Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, which are basically the same. So, there you go. This is the Adept, which is basically the monk. You have all the basic features of the monk himself, but you also have a few new ones mixed in there. You got Agile Defense, Brutal Defense, 2 different versions of your unarmored defense that your character can have. That you can swap around, maybe use instead of your dexterity, your strength as a defense and boosting stat. So one of the things they have done with this is that they made the monk building process more flexible, and they gave the monk a few more features that allows them to be more customized. Also, monks also have basically their own version of invocations or special techniques in which they can acquire at various levels. So you have Powerful Blow, Paralyzing Strike, it can Pressure Point Secrets. So you can basically customize your monk to meet your needs for the party or your adept. You have various sub-archetypes of adepts like the Brawler, Exalted Athlete, and so much more. And the Warrior Monk, and so forth. And we have the Bard here. Basically the same standard Bard. They, instead of just having just spells, they also have tricks known. So they have a little more non-magical stuff added in. They have a few new features that are added in, like such as Battle Hymn and so forth, that allows them to add to combat in a different way. There's some art masteries and so forth, adventuring tricks and so forth. So what you have here in Level Up Advanced 5th Edition is that all the classes have all the basic stuff that 2014 Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition, not 2014, 2014 Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition has, but they also added in new customizable mechanics within the class where you can select between different things to add and onto your character or switch out, sort of granting the class a bit more of that warlock customization that some people absolutely love. Then you have the Berserker. Berserker has rages, rage hit points, talents known, so they also have their own table of talents, maneuvers known, so they also have battle maneuvers, and maneuver degree. So you have the standard barbarian berserker stuff, and then you have also the subclasses in here as well. And then you happen to have all the little maneuvers and tricks that the barbarian or the berserker can utilize is in combat or various places. Berserker archetypes, and then you have the cleric and so forth. As we can see from this is that we have each of the classes are expanded out greatly in number of features. Also, you got cleric, which has also signs known, which is its own unique thing. So every class fundamentally gains a whole new mechanic of customization on top of their regular stuff. The marshals typically will gain in 2 types of mechanics on top. Some maneuvers or tricks or secrets or something like that, or talents. Their own little fun little customization features that allow you to get around certain situations. The art style is rather inconsistent in the book. It's largely just, it seems to be that they hired a bunch of different artists. They didn't have a fixed art style for the system, so they just used whatever was the good art for each for each character class. And then we have Druid here, and Druids have their own wild shape table, much like Dungeons and Dragons 2024, the new version. They have wild shapes known. So you have a maximum number of wild shapes your character can know at any time. But they also have secrets known as well, which is basically just little talents or abilities that you can use within the environment. The secrets should be a few pages in this way. Secrets known like Aerial Surveyor, Aquatic Delver, Cavern Stalker. Secrets of Nature. Desert Dweller, Eldritch Survivor, Herbal Apothecary, Marshland Guide, Master Forger, Mountain Climber, Tundra Explorer, and so forth. And then you have all the subclass stuff. And you generally get the idea. They also do the same thing as Dungeons and Dragons 2024, the new version, where at the end of any spellcasting classes section, they include lists of the spells for that class itself, so you don't have to go tons of pages over to the spellcasting section and then find the little bar that says is what spells the class gets. You just get a list of spells with a little description of what it is, and so forth. And you got the fighter. And what does the fighter get? They got knacks known, knacks. They got maneuvers known, and they got the degrees in the maneuvers in which they can acquire, and so forth. And you pretty much get the basic idea. I have to jump a whole bunch of pages, skip this stuff. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. That's Wizard. And this is the equipment, I do believe. Yeah. In the equipment section, they tell you who the starting gold for your character if you go with that option. They got conversion table, a really nice conversion table for it, as well as common goods, roughly in value line with that. Quick overview of the different categories of items, like weapons, armors, and so forth. They list out all the basic weapons, but the difference is that they organize them by the dice damage in which they do. So you have 1d4 damage weapons, which is brass knuckles, club, dagger, dueling daggers, light hammer, punching dagger, sickle, thrown dagger, and whip. Please note that there is more weapons in this one as opposed to compared to the 2014 version of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and even the 2024. So you have a better range of weaponry in this book. You have for the D6s, you got hand axe, javelin, mace, quarterstaff, scimitar, short sword, spear, and trident. For the 1d8s is you got bastard sword, battle axe, flail. Bastard sword is a new weapon. Great club, long sword, morning star, rapier, saber, warhammer, and warpick. And for the 1d10s, you got glaive, halberd, pike, scythe. 1d12s is great axe, and 2d6s is greatsword. Please note that, let's see here, you have various other traits in these, such as you got dual wielding, hand mounted category. You have finesse, thrown, parrying, immunity, reach. Whip has parrying immunity, It has reach 15 and trip, so you can trip people with it. You got what else here? You got battle axe, which is breaker wood and versatile 1d10 if you use 2 hands on it, and so forth. So you got a lot bigger range. You have for your ranged weapons blowguns, darts, sling, hand crossbow, short bow, composite bow, light crossbow, long bow, and heavy crossbow. And then on the back side here, you got miscellaneous weapons and accessories, which you have a garrote, a lance, and a net. A garrote is a new item that is separated out from the generic items in the 2014 and the 2024 and put into actual weapons. Oh yes, sassy. So here we all go. We have some rare melee weapons such as assassin's gauntlets, boot dagger, ring blade, double weapon, sword pistol, spiked chain, mercurial maul, geared slingshot, pistol, shotgun, carbine, ricocheting crossbow, revolver, and musket. So they also include firearms in this system as well. You got a little section on shields and improvised shields, as well as different levels of shields, such as a light, medium, heavy, and tower shield, which is a +1, +2, +2, and +2, with different prices. I would think that a tower shield should be a +3, but they might have actually deeper rules for that. They got a larger range of armors in here as well, as compared to the 2014 and the 2024 versions of Dungeons and Dragons. You have helmet types, and you got different types of material and various characteristics for it. Say like you have armor that's made of bone, you got characteristics for that. You got armor that's made of cold iron. So if you want to level up your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition experience, and you personally find that the 2024 version of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is not deep enough for you, you might want to look into this book right here, because there's a deeper version of the rules in a lot of areas. You have all the standard items, like customized as items in here, like barrels, baskets, caskets, lanterns, locks, magnifying glass, and a few other things. All the same stuff as with a lot of the other 2 books, and so forth. Skip a few pages. You have various pricing ranges for various items. Information for different levels of play. So if you are starting at tier 3, you should have about 7,000 gold, and these are some suggested items for the adept, as well as the berserker, bard, cleric, and so forth. So they've thought about, say, like, oh, what happens if the party is starting at level 10? Well, what should the game master give those people that start at level 10, or give them as options for starting at level 10? Well, let's see here. A druid should probably have about 7,000 gold. Potentially seeds of necessity, which is 5,000 gold value. Either a staff of web tender, staff of woodlands, or a staff of withering, which is 5,000 each gold, plus 1,500 gold. So the value is 7,000, and then they break it down into the individual items. Items A or B, category or C. You want to pick one or the other. You got rules on building strongholds. What is this? You got rules on building strongholds already in this book. Wizards of the Coast was talking about, hey, we're going to put rules for building bastions in 2024 in the Dungeon Master's book. Level Up already beat them to it. You got rules in here for your strongholds. Furnishing stuff, encampments, and so forth, your libraries, your menageries. You got optional rules for the characters for multi-classing and feats. So there you go. You got your multi-classing rules right here explained out. What you get in combat maneuvers and what you get for extra attacks and your spells and pact magic. Then you have feats. You have Ace Diver, Athletic, Attentive, Battlecaster, Blade Chanter, Whirling Incantor, Eldritch Whirlwind Master, Brutal Attack, Bull Rush, Combat Thievery, Covert Training, Crafting Expert, Deadeye, Deflector, Destiny's Call, Dual Wielding Expert, Dungeoneer, Eldritch Archer as a feat, Arrow Enchanter, Eldritch Volley Master, Empathic, Fearbreaker, Fortune, Grappler, Guarded Warrior, Hardy Adventurer, Heavily Outfitted, Heavy Armor Expertise, Heraldic Training, Idealistic Leader, Intrusive, Keen Intellect, Lightly Outfitted, Linguistic Expert, Martial Scholar, Medium Armor Expert, Moderately Outfitted, Monster Hunter, Mounted Warrior, Mystic Talent, Mystic Arcanist, Pure Arcanist, Arcana Master, Natural Warrior, New Blooded, Vampire Spawn, Vampire Lord, Night Stalker, Subtly Skilled, Night Master, Physician, Polearm Savant, Powercaster, Powerful Attacker, Proclaimer, Divine Orator. There's a lot of feats. Harbinger of Things to Come, Primordial Caster, Rallying Speaker, Resonant Bond, Right Master, Shadow Dancer, Shadowmancer, Shadow Assassin, Shield Focus, Skillful, Skirmisher, Spellbreaker, Stalwart, Stealth Expert, Street Fighter. I should play Guile's theme right here now, but we'll just go with it. Surgical Combatant, Survivor, Swift Combatant, Tactical if I'm going to do like shorts and I'm covering the feats for this, I am going to definitely play Guile's theme when I come to Street Fighter. Swift Combatant, Tactical Support, Tenacious Thespian, Untamed, Living Stampede, Wild Rider, Vendetta, Revenant, True Revenant, Vengeful Protector, Vigilante, Equipped for Justice, A Symbol Strikes Fear, probably obviously leading to Batman. I would be tempted to play the Batman theme for that one. Symbol that Strikes Fear. Weapons Specialist, Well Healed, Healed, and Woodcraft Training, and that's it. And then we have a section on ability checks, how to do them, various contest methods of determining outcomes with various things, explaining difference, the same basic structure as the 2014 Player's Handbook. They just break it down by abilities, and then they get to the skills, and they cover the skills. The skills are pretty much all the same, but they also are nice enough that they include DCs as example for each one. So if you are playing, if you're using investigation, if you roll for investigation and you get a 10, notice an old, frequently used secret door, find out whether someone's staying inside. 15 is equivalent, if you possibly get a 15, you're looking for something, and discern a simple truth from a crime scene, find a specific passage in a daunting tome. Identify patterns for if you roll 18. Thieves' Cant in town, determine how long ago a recent event took place. If you manage to roll a 20, get dangerous gossip of well-known local, assemble a timeline of suspicious happenings going back as far as 6 months. So they're giving you ideas of what you could potentially achieve if you happen to roll at certain levels. You got physical skills, critical successes, and critical failure examples, as well as social skills. You got adventuring section here that talks about the principles of adventuring, which is basically the same kind of concept as what was in the 2014 as well as in the 2024 Player's Handbooks for D&D 5th edition. They cover the long rest, the short rest, craft. They have a section on crafting, And they have DC tables for crafting items, which is actually, if I remember correctly, that's a little deeper than the 2024 version of the crafting rules. You got a section on researching, spellcraft, and so forth. Train, work, prestige rating, and so forth. You got nice little tables for all that. You got combat, turn-based action, which explains how to do combat in here, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. They also talk about various conditions and other fun things that can be occurred during combat. You also have a point system in here that combat movement, combat points with various degrees in here. Combat maneuvers. And then we go into the chapter on magic, which is right here, which is 490. And they cover all the basics on magic, rare spells, spell slots, you know, all the little fun stuff, the little meat mechanics and lead-ins for the dungeon master to say, hey, that spell is too rare for your character to know and stuff like that. And they explained area of effects and targeting and stuff like that. You have interesting saving throws and attack rules. You have an interesting combination of spells in here. You got Accelerado. You got Acid Arrow, Acid Splash, Aid, Air Wave. We got an air spell. That's interesting. Alarm, Alerted Strike, or Altered Strike. Alter Self, Angel Paradox, Animal Friendship, Animal Messenger, Animal Shapes. Huh. That's a spell that they now have in the 2024 version of D&D. Roughly the same level too. Huh. Interesting how that happened. Animate Dead, Animate Objects, Anti-Life Shell, Anti-Magic Field, Antipathy, Arcane Eye, Arcane Hand, which is Mage Hand, Arcane Lock, Arcane Muscles. You can make your muscle wizard with a spell. It happens to be Arcane Spell, Arcane Muscles is a cantrip. Okay, you got a cantrip. Arcane Muscles. Your muscles swell with arcane power. They're so clumsy to effectively wield weapons, but certainly strong enough for a powerful punch until the spell ends. You can choose to use your spellcasting ability score for athletics checks and for the attack and damage rolls of unarmed strikes. In addition, your unarmed strikes deal 1d6 bludgeoning damage and count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. That's neat. You got Arcane Riposte, Arcane Sword, Arcanist Magic Aura, Aspect of the Moon, Astral Projection, and Augury, Awaken, Bane, Banishment, and many much more spells. You have a really nice collection of spells in here. Some of them are all the standard ones from the 2014 book. Many that you also see in the 2024. But you also have a bunch of new ones and some really interesting fun ones, and just like the Arcane Muscles spell we just read. So, Prismatic Killer. As I said before, you got some nice artworks here and there, but they fail to not put like a label here that says what that spell is. So you have to guess. And so forth. And then I accidentally jumped past into the... That's the last one right there. So we have the Appendix A, which is conditions. And I've already read it out in the front of the book. And then you got Appendix B and Appendix C and so forth. And then you got the character sheets. I should actually show you the character sheets. And that's the character sheets. You have your standard ability scores over here. You got your HP. You got your basic attack section right here for your different weapons. You have this little section right here for your destiny, which is the new feature they added in this book. You got a section for your skills with little line areas for you to note out your specialty in that skill and expertise die, which is a neat little thing in itself. You got a section on features and traits, which is nice and big, and combat maneuvers, which is a new feature they added to this version, their version of 5th edition. Please note that this section is nice and big as well as that section. You got a section for your relationships and your loot and treasure, and you have a nice big nice big sheet for your spells. And you got your open game license. Open game license. Oh. The OGL. Overall, I would say that this is probably 4 stars right here. This is truly a much more robust version of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition than the standard one. You see some of the stuff that's in Level Up Advanced 5th edition appear in the new 2024 Player's Handbook from Wizards of the Coast. However, there's still way more stuff that is exclusive to Level Up Advanced 5th edition that's not in the 2024. This is more in line of the natural evolution directly off of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2014, the original 5th edition, or version 1, than the 2024 version. So say like if you look at this and it's like, oh, this is neat stuff right here, but I wanted more to my 5th edition experience, and I wanted it more in natural line of evolution. It still retains a lot of the core features of 5th edition, but you add new stuff on top of it and you tweak a few things. This is actually a pretty good option. This is like a 4-star right here. It's a fairly chunky book. The only thing, sadly, there is no online character sheets for character creation platform for Level Up Advanced 5th edition that I know of off the top of my head. So you're kind of stuck with having to just use the character sheets in the back. But other than that, I like it a lot. It's actually quite good. My only side issue, as I said by that, is there's that, and then there's also the fact that the book is really heavy and big, and it's actually notably wider. A little bit wider than in the regular 5th edition, and a little bit taller, 24. So, if you want a more advanced version of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you probably go with that one. In the terms of evolution of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, there's the original 2014, which contains the basically like D&D 1.0, 5.0 to 1 Dungeons & Dragons 5.15 version range. Like you gain an extra 0.5 for the major books like Zathar's Guide and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Dungeons & Dragons 2024 is kind of like Dungeons & Dragons. It's sort of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 5.25, 5.3 edition. Okay, it's somewhere around there. It's like a 5.25, 5.3 version. I almost need to like put like a sign here that says, this is the range of this, and this is the range of that. And then this is like Dungeons & Dragons 5.4 or 5.5 edition right here. And this is just way more built up. It's still actually kind of reverting back towards some of the structure of the original 2014, but it has more features built on top of the things, and it's built in such a fashion that your characters are way more customizable when you're making your characters. And as you're leveling up, your monk is gaining more abilities, your fighter's gaining combat maneuvers, whereas on top of everything, and various techniques and masteries, and you get a whole bunch of other stuff on top of that. So there's your, this is basically the order of advancement right here in level of depth and customization. The 2024 version is a back step in a few areas, and this is a back step in a few areas back to the 2014, but overall the level up advanced 5th edition is the most flushed out version of 5th edition of these three. And yeah, I'm going to try to keep these out, and when I get around to Tales of the Valiant, I will compare these to Tales of the Valiant as well, and I'll just leave level up in the corner or something. So there you go. If you enjoy this video, I hope you if you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe on the channel, and check out my other videos. I cover all kinds of TTRPGs all over for the Gambit in the most simple fashion and quickly as possible fashion as I can. And I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.